I'm Mike Leck, and welcome to Adventures in Scale Modeling. There's a large group of modelers especially interested in military history. The exact replicas of the famous aircraft and naval ships provide a fascinating challenge to the modeler historian. Today we're at the site of the USS Yorktown, a small vessel in comparison to the modern-day aircraft carrier. However, ships like the Yorktown and her sisters have had more of an impact on naval strategy than any other type of ship on the high sea. Having this opportunity to review the prototype before we begin the model is fantastic. Anything we can learn about the prototype models we build, the more we can closely duplicate them. We're going to learn more about the USS Yorktown later on in today's show. But right now, let's go to the museum and begin building this historic aircraft carrier. Some models we build complement one another. For instance, the F-14 on display here could have actually flown off the flight deck of the aircraft carrier we're building today. By choosing the appropriate scales, we can display models together very effectively. Model ships can appear intimidating to us, but Bill Devins, our master model maker, is downstairs in the museum workshop ready to put our mind at ease when working with these type of vessels. Let's go downstairs and join him as we begin building the USS Yorktown. The USS Yorktown is one of those exciting models we get to paint and assemble today. Bill, what kind of progress are you making on the Yorktown?
Well, Mike, I've just about got this hull ready to paint with the red waterline color. And what we're going to do is put some masking tape on here to make sure we get a nice sharp edge to that waterline.
Well, can I give you a hand?
Sure, but let's wash those hands first.
Well, what do I have to wash my hands for? We're not going to do any painting just yet.
Well, we want to get all the oil and grease from your hands off and take away all that sanding dirt, because any of the imperfections that were on your hand will get transferred to the model. They'll wind up on the masking tape, and they'll eventually wind up in our paint finish, and we don't want to see that.
I see your point. So we don't want to wash our hands. I mean, we want to wash our hands as often as we can.
That's right, especially when you're getting down to the finishing operations.
All right, what are we going over to the small workbench for?
Okay, we're going to need a few supplies here. We've got the steel straight edge. You can grab the masking tape, and I'll take this piece of glass over.
Now, Bill, I notice you have the masking tape down on a piece of glass. What are you going to do there?
Okay, well, we want to get a nice sharp edge on the masking tape, Mike.
Well, I don't understand, Bill. There's an edge already on the masking tape.
Right, but the edge here really isn't all that sharp. You can see that it's already picked up a lot of dirt and gunk just from being on the edge, and it's kind of rolled back, and it really isn't the proper way of applying the finish to your model.
Ah, I see your point. So what are we going to do?
So what we're going to do here is put a piece of tape right on the glass.
Okay.
And cut our own sharp edge.
You use the hobby knife?
Right.
All right.
And steel ruler so that we get a nice sharp edge here. If you use a wooden ruler, your hobby knife will cut right into it. So.
Okay. So you're just going to cut right through it?
Now we're just going to cut right through it. And the point of the knife won't go through the glass and it won't scratch it. But we should cut
yes, I see.
right through the layer of tape.
So now what do we do?
Now when we peel it off, we should have a nice clean edge to use. Here you go, Mike.
Let me see what we got here. Let me grab that. Yeah, you know, Bill, you're right. That really is a nice, sharp edge. What happens if we just put it down just like that?
Well, if we put it down like that, the edge kind of rolls up, and you can see the dirt that's already picked up on the edge, and that's going to make it not stick too well to the model, and therefore paint's going to run underneath it.
Oh, so now, why do we put it on the glass in lieu of the table?
Well, if you notice, we don't have any masking tape glue stuck to the glass. Even though we've pulled it off here, we've stuck it down and pulled it off. The glass won't take away the adhesion of the tape, so it's still sticky.
So we keep the property of the stickiness, so we put it on the glass. All right, now what do I do next?
Now what you want to do is continue on that line. You can follow the engraved line that they have on there.
I'm going to fumble with my tape here. This is the first time I'm doing this. This is exciting. Now, what do I do?
Okay, I hope you remember which edge was the good edge.
I do.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sticking it down here.
Stick that down and follow and make sure you get your edge nice and tight.
Oh, all right. Boy, you have to really have some patience with this stuff, don't you?
Well, all modeling you need a little bit of patience for, but the finished product is usually worth it.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, Bill, I see a question arriving here. We have the line down real nice, and I come around the edge of the boat here. But when I spray paint this model, what stops the spray paint from going up to the top there?
Oh, okay, I see. Yes, we don't want the superstructure of the model red, but
What do we do?
we haven't finished masking yet, Mike.
Okay, so what do we do first?
What we're going to do, see, once we've got our sharp edge on,
Okay.
that's the line that we're concerned about. Now, we can take our regular masking tape.
Okay. We don't have to
And
cut this anymore.
We don't have to cut this anymore. We can take a good long strip of it here. Sometimes it helps if you just stick one edge down on the table there, and that won't roll up on you. And what you want to do is follow along the line, the back edge of your old tape,
Ah, I see.
just to cover up more of the model. Now, depending on how large the model is, you might want to do this process with all masking tape. But this Yorktown's got a pretty big hull, and we're going to be doing a lot of painting, so...
Should I just cut this down here with a knife?
Right, you can just snip that off.
All right, what are you going to do with the paper now?
And we can hide some of the rest of this by taping a piece of paper down to our masking tape here.
I'm
Just
really
rip
caught up
this
here.
off.
Okay.
You're really wrapped up in this project, Mike.
Yes, with masking tape. Now, Bill, do we always use masking tape only, or can we use any other kind of tape?
Well, we can use, we usually use masking tape to get those straight lines. But for holding the paper on and for other types of less than critical masking, you can use Scotch tape.
Okay. Like we could use Scotch tape now with the paper.
Right, we could tape the paper down with Scotch tape and hold that in. In fact, some of the, where the paper overlaps here, for instance, you're going to want to Scotch tape it together because spray paint is notoriously powerful, and when you're spraying in here, it will lift this paper up and spray your model underneath.
Well, this certainly is
So-
taking a long time to complete this.
That's true. It's a tedious job, but we don't, like I said, we don't want the paint to get in there and ruin the finish.
Where are you going?
But I happen to have a hull over here that we've got
Oh, okay.
all ready to go. So
Let's see what you got there. Oh, you have the...
you see, I've got this papered out with some Scotch tape, and I've got our sharp edge
you have
line.
the Scotch tape between the paper so it doesn't go up underneath, and there's the other part of the model. But Bill, you know, I noticed that you have, on this hull, we don't have any parts, but on the other hull we do. Now, what's the situation here?
Okay. While I was masking this model, I didn't want to take a risk of breaking these parts off. You saw how wrapped up we got in the tape.
Yeah.
But in reality, they're part of the lower hull of the Yorktown, and they're going to be painted red the same way the rest of the hull is. So after we got the masking tape on, I've glued down the propeller shafts and their supports.
That's because they're
and
all going to be one
they're
color
all
also.
going to be red also. So we want to subassemble the model, and all the parts that want to be red on the finished model we want to put on before we actually do the spraying.
All right, well, I'm anxious to get started. What's our next step?
Okay.
Spray painting?
I think we can clean off the workbench here and get right down to spray painting.
All right, this is the part I come to see. Let's see what you got. Is this the spray paint we're going to use?
Okay, right. That's the flat red that we're going to use for the hull bottom.
Okay, well, I want to see you do it, buddy.
And
You're the expert here. Oh, so you hold on. Yeah, that paper also protects your arms.
Right. You'll probably get some on your arm, but we want to remember that we want to spray the
All right, I'm going to get out of your way here.
want to spray over the table and preferably have some newspaper down or
Yeah, but my
something,
workbench is
your workbench. But you don't want to go and spray your mother's kitchen table because she won't let you build any more models.
Or the
after
wife's
that.
coffee table, for that matter.
You better be sure. Now, when you spray paint, you want to start behind the model and spray across it. You don't want to start and stop in the middle of the model because that's when you
Did you shake that can up?
Yep, I shook this can up. We're going to shake it every few seconds to make sure that paint's well
the
mixed in
agitation going, doesn't it?
there. Right. Okay,
let's see
let's see
what
what
we
we
get
got
there.
here.
Oh, that is a beautiful looking red. Bill, you painted the instruction sheet.
Well, we can still see it, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, now that's what we want to do, and we're going to roll the model over and paint the next pass.
That's really cool.
And,
Let me give it a try.
Maybe you want to take a shot
Yeah,
at
I
that,
do,
Mike.
I do. This is a fun job here.
Get
So
under there, turn it around. Maybe you can face it the other way. That's it.
Okay, now I just start from, how far back should I do it?
Well, you should be back about 10 or 12 inches. Make sure now you start beyond the bow of the model and then...
Oh, beyond the bottom?
Right, and then come right across it. Try
This
to
is-
do it in one pass there. And
Like this?
right. That's fine. Now get in a few passes right in here, because some of these, if you spray from the same angle all the time, the shadows that are created by these pieces will show up on the plastic. So you want to come in at a different angle to cover up. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And get in underneath some of those things.
Boy, the model's looking great here.
I see a spot in the bow that we missed.
Okay, why don't you get it here?
Well,
only the expert would get a piece like this.
We got a couple of spots that are still gray there.
So I got to hit this tail?
Yep, get that right in there, and a couple other spots.
Okay.
And that should look pretty good.
Boy, it does look good. Bill, tell me a little bit about the overspray here. I mean, how safe is it to be down here with this spray paint?
Well, we want to spray paint in a well-ventilated area, because this stuff, red in particular, will settle around all over, and you'll breathe it up into your nose and stuff. So you want to make sure you've got a well-ventilated area when you're spray painting.
Now, how long does something like this take to dry?
You should let this dry maybe for 12 hours to 24 hours. I prefer overnight, so that you're not anxious, over-anxious, and getting your fingerprints in your nicely painted hull.
Okay, well, Bill, while you continue to spray paint the model and set the parts aside to dry, why don't we go take a look at the USS Yorktown in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm here on the flight deck of the USS Yorktown, where I'm going to spend some time talking to Dr. Clark Reynolds, historian of Patriots Point's Maritime and Naval Museum here in Charleston, South Carolina. Dr. Reynolds, welcome to Adventures in Scale Modeling.
Thank you.
Dr. Reynolds, I understand that this is not the very first Yorktown.
Right. This is the second carrier Yorktown. The first one was sunk at the Battle of Midway early in World War II, and as is the tradition of all navies, a new ship was named after the old one as a tribute and to continue the tradition.
Well, did the design change much from the first to the second?
Not a heck of a lot. Carriers were so new then. This is number 10, the new one. The old one was number 5, so it was still a pretty rudimentary design.
Well, can you explain to us in more general layman terms, aircraft carrier? What is it?
Aircraft carrier is a floating airfield at sea, so that everything in the crew, the ship's company, about 3,000 men back in World War II, operated to serve the air group, which is now called an air wing, about another 600 fellows, to keep the plane service, keep them in flying condition, and always, above all, to keep the deck operable. If there were bomb hits or something, everything would have to be repaired before the planes came home and so forth.
Now, I understand there's something special about this deck. It was wood, then it was covered. What was the differences and why so?
Well, the American policy in building carriers was to have wooden decks so that if a bomb went through, it would hit on the steel down on the hangar deck. Then timbers could be brought up and the flight deck restored so it would be operating to bring the planes home, and then they could repair the damage below later. Teak was used because that's the only wood that doesn't get slippery when it's wet. And that way the men could run around on a deck that's got not only water on it, but also oil and gas and stuff from servicing the planes. So you had better traction for both the men running around on the deck and for the planes once they hit the deck and grab the arresting wire. And then when they went off, they had to have